Alright, hello and welcome to episode 2 of Newysports Weekly. It is June 7th, Wednesday, June 7th, I'm Ty 7. Let's get straight into it for the NewFM results from round 13, which was men's health round. The under-15s, Toronto 4 defeating West Wallsend 0. I'm pretty sure that keeps them at the top of the table too. I don't actually have the ladder up at the moment, but I'm pretty certain it does. That's a solid result for Toronto in the opening match of the day out there at the Gardens. Excuse me while I get these ladders up on screen to just confirm that Toronto is still on top in the under-15 competition. 4-0, very solid over a decent West Wallsend side. Cessnock picking up their first points, also their first win of the season. I think 10 games, 10 losses, so they finally pick up a win. It was even Garrington with a hat-trick, 3-0 victory. He has been playing in the 17s squad as well and hasn't really helped them too much, but they beat South Cardiff, who have been struggling in their own rights. Bell Swans also haven't been spectacular in this grade and were beaten 4-1 by Cooks Hill, who keep pressure on Toronto at the top. New Lambton Cahaiba in a fairly big game that got played. The other grades for that particular fixture were washed out. Scoreless draw, and also a scoreless draw for Wallsend and Singleton. I've only got 2 minutes to talk about the 15s, and I've got 20 seconds left on those 2 minutes, and I'll say right now, Singleton's defence in this competition, I did watch their game against New Lambton. It's the only game I've seen all season, and it was very, very strong defence. If they get to the finals, then they're going to be hard to get past. A couple 0-0 draws there, but anyway, it's on to the 17s, and a game I was at for Bell Swans and Cooks Hill. Bell Swans, they've gone off the rails a little bit the last couple of weeks with the draw up at Singleton, and now this 3-0 loss. Cooks Hill, a lot of controversy, with Solomon Amos sent off for Bell Swans. My thoughts, I don't know. At first I thought maybe not a red card, and then I heard one Bell Swans person say, yeah, there was a fair call, and one is more than enough. If one particular club member says that there was a fair call on their club, then it probably was. Nonetheless, Cooks Hill too good. You can complain about that all day, but Cooks Hill solid in this grade. A 3-0 victory that takes them back to the top. No, it doesn't. You'd think I'd know that, don't you? But I don't. Singleton defeated by Wallsend 4-1. Nothing to really write home about here. Singleton obviously struggling, and Wallsend, are they still in finals contention in the 17s? Looking at the table, yes, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say that. They're not out of it, but you know, it's one thing to beat Singleton. They've got to really step up and beat other teams. Bell Swans this week would be a good start for them. Cessnock and South Cardiff battled to a 1-1 draw for the second time this season. Funny enough, last time they did that, it was about mid-April. 1-1 draw at Yalinga Oval. That was the last time that Cessnock 17 scored a goal. They went 5 games without scoring, and they play Southie again, and they pick up a point. Both sides are completely gone. It doesn't really help either, but it happened, I guess, in the match of the round, and suddenly I've still got 2 minutes to talk about the 17s competition. First of all, New Lambton and Cahaiba across all grades was a washout, and that will be now taking place for the 17s and 19s next Thursday, 15th of June at 6 p.m. For the 17s, 7:45 for the 19s. Same times on the Wednesday for 23s in first grade. That's over at Alder Park. I'm not going to complain about the ground being washed out. A lot of people from Cahaiba already did that, players and coaches, and I'll just leave it as is. I like both clubs. Obviously I play at Cahaiba, but a lot of time for New Lambton, so I'm not going to get involved in too many those washout battles. There's been enough this year, and I'm telling you there'll be more this weekend. More washouts, that is. So Toronto and Westie, the match of the round in the 17s, top of the table, second v third, whatever you like to call it. a very, very close game. Probably not as entertaining as I thought it'd be out there at Lyle Peacock. First grade probably was the pick of the games on the day, but in saying that, there was a lot of good goalkeeping in this game, particularly from Brock Redmond for Toronto. It was a running battle between Redmond and Chiapara. That's Blake Chiapara from West Wallsend. Very familiar with each other, and Chiapara got the last laugh with one of those typical cross-turn goal sort of fluke finishes, if you will. I remember a certain Dan Bartlett scoring one for Cahaiba last year. It does happen, and it happened in this game, and it decided this game. Nonetheless, West Wallsend go top of the league in the under-17s. 28 points to Cooks Hills, 25 Toronto and New Lambton complete the top four. Moving on to the under-19s grade, where Belmont Swansea United, I don't even need to look at the results, Belswan's 3 defeated Cooks Hill 1. This was a win that Belswan's needed to, in my opinion, become a contender once again for silverware this season. Belswan's 19s, they have not lost a game in over a year now. I seriously thought, with Cooks Hill in form, I thought this was going to be it for them. But nonetheless, they'd go behind and then they'd get one straight back, and then a solid second half, just overcoming the might of Cooks Hill. Belswan's across the park, very solid side, defensively a good performance, and if they get into finals, then why not? Can they go back to back? I think they very well can. Cooks Hill, hopefully Nick Fakes is alright. He went down with a back injury. Haven't really heard any update through the week either, so hopefully he's all good. Singleton 2 defeating Wallsend 0. Wallsend's a little revival, saw them jump off the bottom, but this sort of brings them back down a little bit. 2-0 victory for Singleton. I think off the top of my head, Callan Stubbs got both the goals for Singleton as well, although that might have been their last game, I don't know. I know he's scored goals lately. I don't have that info in front of me at the moment. Nonetheless, is Singleton still able to make finals in the 19s? It's a bit of an ask. Cahaiba's got 2 games in hand, they're a point behind. Singleton, I think, are gone. Cahaiba need to win pretty much every game, and also I think aren't going to make it. Southie 2-1 over Cessnock. Bit of revenge for that shock loss at Ulinga Oval not too long ago. But in reality, this result, looking at the table, it doesn't really do too much. It keeps Cessnock on the bottom. Do I think they'll finish there? I have a feeling they might. If not them, then it will be Toronto. Those are the 2 teams I think battling for the spoon. Southie just move a little bit away from that bottom area, but still, Southie 19s, I say it each week, it's been a pretty disappointing season. Last but not least was Toronto's 4-1 loss to West Wallsend. This was, I won't lie, this was one of the tougher games to watch this season. First grade out at Toronto was the 200th game of football I have watched this year, not including my own games that I've played in, not including A-League games. But talking local football, this was the 200th game I've seen this season. But yeah, the 19s, which was 198th game this season, was one of the more forgettable. Westie just, I'm not even going to say too good. Westie just doing what they needed to do against the Toronto side that didn't really show up, and haven't showed up at times a lot this season. It's hard when you got a good player like Alex Matthews playing first grade and obviously leaving the 19 squad. I've heard that sort of created a little bit of tension, I guess, between coaches at Toronto, but Connor Morgan being out, I think, is more of an impact. He's back this week. If the game's on, he is back from suspension. Defensively, though, they need to step up, and your star striker's not going to help you step up defensively for my liking. I'm trying to think of the timing. That was beautifully timed. That was 4 minutes. I'm doing 4 minutes for each grade. We'll move on to the 23s. Bellswan's Cooks Hill. This was a really good start to this game. Cooks Hill get the goal. I don't remember what the goal was. It might have been a header. I don't know. It was that long ago, and there was a lot of goals in this game. But the second goal in this game, Will Dunn scoring an absolute screamer of a goal for Bellswans to equalise after just a minute being behind. And then it sort of all went south very quickly. Cooks Hill 7-1. Could have been 8, could have been 9, could have been 10. These guys just score goals for fun. I was talking to Coach Ben Nichols, and he's not someone who's going to get ahead of himself, but in my opinion, Cooks Hill are definitely the premiership favourites and the championship favourites in this particular grade. Singleton 0 defeated by Wallsend 3. Solid victory for Wallsend. Still don't know who got the goals. I'm just checking if that's up yet, because that's the only goal scorers I'm chasing from the whole weekend, and it is Struzari, Hesimovic and Jackson Huff with an own goal. So there you go, that's been posted. I can update all my goal scorers. Real quickly, for the 23s, let's go through the other results. Cessnock 3 defeating South Cardiff 1. Cessnock 23s, all of a sudden they are just in form. I don't really know what's happened up there. They're 7 points ahead of Toronto. Talking about Toronto, 2-1 loss to Westie. This was one of the more, as a neutral sitting there at Lyle Peacock Field, Westie get the penalty in the 79th minute, and I just thought that really sucks. Good for Westie, but for Toronto's sake, I spoke with Steve Blunt, the coach, after the game. I just thought they really probably deserved a point out of that game. I don't think West Wallsend were good enough to win it, but nonetheless they got away with it. Josh Knight scoring that penalty to take them in the top 4. And really quickly, I've got 90 seconds left to talk about the 23s. This competition for me this season has taken, it started okay, but it's taken a massive step down in terms of consistent teams. South Cardiff, for example, in the 23s, they lose to Cessnock. Southie 23s, they're a little bit out of form. They've lost a few in the last few weeks. They've drawn. They're not exactly in form. And until Westie won that game, they were still in the top 4. There's all those teams on 15, 16 points. Teams like Cahaiba 23s, which have been inconsistent, and look, for me, like West Wallsend are probably 15 points behind Cooks Hill. It's Cooks Hill on top, and I've said it all weekend. It's now Wednesday, but I said it all weekend to people. You could get Cooks Hill 23s to play Wallsend 23s this weekend in the grand final and decide who wins this thing, and just have a lunch break or something, or just have 3 games, because in my opinion they're the only 2 teams in this comp, and they're the only 2 teams in this comp capable of performing at a decent, consistent level. And if that doesn't fire some teams up, then I don't know what will. It's a 2-team competition. It's your Celtic and Rangers in the Scottish League. It's Cooks Hill 23s and Wallsend 23s in this league. Just by far, both of them, too good. Wallsend's still the only team to beat Cooks Hill. We'll move on to first grade. What a result this was out at Blacksmith's Oval. Bellswans 1 defeating Cooks Hill 0. Firstly, on Cooks Hill, the ladder leaders, people keep asking me, are the wheels falling off? No. It's getting a little bit shaky, but I'm not going to say the wheels are falling off. For crying out loud, it's two draws and a loss. It's not the end of the world, but plus you look at these sort of players that got out. Lee Ashton in particular is a big out for Cooks Hill. Luke Muller, the 19s fullback, was forced to play fullback in first grade. Obviously he's not going to be at the level of Ash Bowcombe. So Ash Bowcombe, Lee Ashton both out. A couple others. but Cooks Hill, it is getting a little bit of a worrying time, isn't it? They're still one of the best teams, if not the best team. There's still a chance, a big chance to win the grand final, but for the minor premiership, it's starting to get a little bit shaky, to say the least. Kahaiba got some games in hand to catch up on them. For Bell Swans, this was the win that they needed to fire themselves right back up there into that top 4 sort of area. They're not in there yet, they're still 5 points behind Southie, I think, but this was the win that Bell Swans needed. This, over a top 4 side, in tough conditions, this was the win they needed to really kickstart this season. And if the game is on Saturday against Wallsend, expect a very fired up game. Wallsend going down to Singleton 4-2 on the weekend. A 9-man Singleton. If I remember correctly, Singleton had 10 players, then they went down to 9. And I think it was 2-2 when they went down to 9, and they scored another 2 goals. So Wallsend, it's all just falling apart, and I'll put it out there now for this weekend. If the game is on Saturday, the grand final rematch, Bell Swans versus Wallsend. First of all, get there. It's going to be a big one. For me, Wallsend, if they lose, their season's over. Their finals hopes are over. I'm prepared to put that out there. They need to win this game. I think Chris Gallagher would have that sort of same idea, that they really need to beat Bell Swans in this game. Not as much pressure on Bell Swans, but still it's going to be a very interesting fixture if it goes ahead, which I have doubts it might because of this rain and the forecast rain. But nonetheless, Cessnock 0 defeated by South Cardiff 2. Southie, granted, I haven't really seen them that much this year. I think I've seen 2 games. But they're just doing their job. They're just going along quietly, minding their own business. They're not, having issues like Cooks Hill with a couple of draws, Fortin sort of out of form, Southie going in form, and it's that time of the year where you want to be in form and you want to beat these sort of teams. Cessnock, with all respect, they are last, and 2-0. It's not a big win, but it's just a decent win for Southie. They do what they need to do to keep that buffer on Bell Swans. And I tell you what, South Cardiff in the finals, if they get there, it's going to be very interesting to see what they do against your Cooks Hills, your Kahaibas, possibly Bell Swans, Fortin, those sort of teams. Not sure how they'll go. Toronto 4 defeating West Wallsend 1 in the final match of the round. I was out at this one with Newlands being washed out. Didn't really know what to expect. I didn't expect a brilliant game, and it wasn't really a brilliant game, but for me it was entertaining in a physical sense. It was just a real hard-hitting game between 2 sides that just don't really like each other that much. West Wallsend, they don't take too kindly to being behind, or losing for that matter. Once it was sort of looking a little bit out of hand, they did sort of lose a little bit of their patience with that penalty call, and then the goalkeeper off the line. I was right behind those goals, and some of the stuff that West Wallsend was saying to the referee, I'm surprised no one got sent off for dissent. For Westie, that's a damaging loss for their finals hopes, but Toronto, that shows what they can do. That was Toronto's biggest win in 4 years. And they had their doubters, and I'm probably one of them, but they were very solid, Toronto. Whether they could do it against, they did it against Cooks Hill. They got a draw at Cooks Hill. They've got Kahaiba this week, which is going to be interesting to see how they go. One or two said to me at Toronto that they're confident. Blake Glennie, in fact, he said if they can win 5 in a row, they can perhaps push for finals. That's probably getting a little bit ahead, but nonetheless, Toronto, they aren't this team that are just going to lay down every week like some fort. Even Cessnock, for that matter, even Singleton. These teams are all producing results here and there, and it's good to see those sort of teams knocking off higher placed squads. And yeah, Toronto, I don't think they'll make finals, but nonetheless, they're not going to finish last, and that's what's unpredicted. So that's that. That's week 13, round 13 of the NewFM Northern League 1 competition, men's health round, which was a success. I think Toronto raised about 500 with their donation bucket. Bell Swans, there was a lot of donations taken. The referees were in the armbands. It was just nice. It's nice. Football and charity always goes together hand in hand, and people supporting good causes. It's good to see. And this weekend, I'm not sure what to expect. I'm not going to lie, I haven't started. I could have done my previews for this weekend already. I haven't started them because of looking at this forecast. I'm not sure any game's going to be on except the FA Cup, which is on this weekend too. Good luck to those teams competing. Edgeworth versus the Jaffers is going to be probably one to watch. If NewFM's not on, I might actually head out there and watch that. Two teams that went all the way last year. One of them's going to be gone, so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Vallo, I think, will knock Magic out as well, which means Valentine could be on the brink of something spectacular, especially if they can draw the winner of Cardiff and Coff City, which I'd fancy Valentine beating either of those teams and Valentine going to the national stage. Probably not going to get Melbourne victory playing at Carl Oval, but we'll see how we go. Good luck to the Phoenix, good luck to Magic, good luck to all those teams involved in the FA Cup. I will see you next week for another episode of Newysports Weekly.